please welcome Nick Castle. So good to have you. Welcome. There's a microphone for you.
See if this is working.
It is. It's so good to have you here.
Who is that guy you were showing in there?
That was Adam Sandler.
Oh, okay. Good.
So good to have you. So this
Thank
is
you.
your time here. If you want to tell a few stories, take some questions, whatever you're comfortable with.
Sure. I mean, I'm always ready for some questions. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of Steel City. This has been a real treat. It's amazing how many folks are out here. Look at this. There's a sea of people, Halloween fans. And so it's been great to meet many of you at the table. And, gee, I haven't had a second to get out and see what Pittsburgh looks like these days. So that's unfortunate. But it's been wonderful to be here. So I just wanted to first thank you all. As you know, I'll just give you an update on the Halloween trilogy that is going to end. And it's called End, as you know. Halloween ends in October. So I just saw that my good friend James Jude Courtney, who hopefully most of you know who that is, he's doing the 99% of the work on the last three movies as Michael Myers, and doing a wonderful job, I think. I just saw he was over at the editing room where they're completing the first cut of Halloween Ends with David Gordon Green, of course, as the steward of the ship. And it sounds like it should be pretty good. You know, I've read the script. I do a little cameo in this new one, which is fun. And we'll have the end of at least the David Gordon Green version of Halloween. I think there might be more because of all the success of this. But he will have a very, I think, surprising storyline and ending for everyone. So that's absolutely something I don't think you would have ever guessed in terms of the way it's going to unroll. So that's kind of fun.
That is fun. Let's get some questions. If you could put the mic a little closer to your mouth when you talk,
sure.
We'll be all great. Let's get our questions. Let's rock on this.
I'll get this one if you want to get that side, Mike.
I'll get this side. I'll get you next. Once again, thanks for coming. This is awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
First question.
Hey, I know Halloween was it's a great success, and I've loved that movie since I was 13 years old. I know it was a low-budget movie, and I know some of these low-budget movies have some kind of cool stories that happen, like in the background filming. What is your favorite memory of filming Halloween?
Oh, my God. The favorite memory of filming. You know, it was so inauspicious beginning. You know, it was just a low-budget picture. My friend was directing. My other friend was the production manager. My friend's girlfriend was the producer. You know, it's like you're with your buddies, so you don't expect something like that to jump out as well as it eventually did. And, of course, 180 years later, here we are, you know, still talking about it. So, but my favorite memory was something very simple, probably having lunch with Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, something as simple as that, just hanging out with some of the cast and the crew and meeting people that would be eventually some of my lifelong friends. So those are the things you remember. Not so much actually doing the movie, although that's fun too, stabbing people. Can't have it. What could be more fun? Well, I'll tell you what's more fun. Strangling people with a telephone cord. So that's fun. But that's what I would say. Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a question right here.
All right, hello, Nick Castle. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a two-part question. What would you say, what was your favorite part about working on the films The Last Starfighter and Halloween? And do you often keep in touch with the cast and crew, particularly Lance Guest and Catherine Mary Stewart every now and then?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, he's referring to the movie second movie I directed, which was called The Last Starfighter, a little space opera. That was, thank you. That was shot in 1983 and distributed in 1984, and came out, did okay. It wasn't like a gigantic hit like Halloween or Star Wars, but it has a lot of fans still from that era. And what's that?
It's one of his favorites.
Oh, one of his favorite movies. There you go. And so that was a unusual experience, you know, because I didn't. Maybe you could tell. I wasn't versed in the science fiction genre as much as I should have been probably for directing a movie like that. But in any case, it was quite a lot of fun. We had a great cast, as you were saying, the young people there. Lance Guest and Catherine Mary Stewart have remained friends with me. In fact, I got an email from Catherine just yesterday saying someone was talking to her about, is there going to be a sequel to The Last Starfighter, which there is promising, whispers that from the original writer who owns the rights to that movie, that he has another take on where to go for the sequel. And so we'll see. We'll see. You never know about these things until the money changes hands. We'll see about that. But in terms of, there's nothing to compare between Starfighter and Halloween. One, I was an actor for hire, if you can call me an actor, and in that movie. And the other was, continuing a career that I loved doing, which was writing and directing.
So I've got a follow-up to that. Do you feel more comfortable in front of the camera or behind?
No, I can't really act, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm just curious. What do you have more fun with? What kind of?
No, I mean, fun. What I learned how to do was write and direct, and that's what I enjoy doing. And I have no, except for this role, which is, of course, the thing I'm most famous for. But luckily, you didn't have to see my quivering lips going in the background because I'm scared to be in front of the camera. That's the horror show for me.
All right, Nick, we are way in the back here. We've got a question for you back here.
Okay.
What is your favorite Halloween kill?
My favorite Halloween kill?
Phil.
Yes.
Well,
Favorite Halloween kill?
Oh, kill.
Kill. Well, you know as well as I do, I hate anybody named Bob. Hate people named Bob, unless your name is Bob, by the way. No, Bob. I loved, pinning Bob up on the wall. That was kind of fun, and all kinds of things from that. The little tilt of the head, which John, by the way, is the one that told me to do that. That didn't come from my brilliant mind. And then the entire sequence is great because it goes right upstairs, and I get to strangle old PJ. That's fun.
All right, we got some questions. I see some hands up back here.
Way on the far wall.
One right here. Go ahead.
How do you stay quiet during scenes?
How do you stay quiet?
How do you stay quiet during scenes?
That's perfect for a grade school person to ask, I think. It's easy because if you don't, the director yells at you.
All right, we're kind of over here by this pillar in the back here. Why don't you stand up and just kind of scoot? I'll hold it for you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Castle. There's a famous photo of the wrap party of Halloween where the Coupe de Villes are playing, and you and Tommy Lee Wallace and John Carpenter all have masks on. The story goes that the original mask was then put under Deborah Hill's bed and then used in Halloween 2 and later sold by Dick Warlock to a guy in Toledo. My question is, do you know what happened to those other two masks? And were they used in the movie?
The other two masks, well, as you can tell, there were three masks from the photos of that particular wrap party scene. I don't know. One of the masks was given to me right after the show, and I kept it in my office for, I don't know, a few years. When did Halloween 2 start to shoot? I'm forgetting. But in any case, when they started to shoot that, or started to go into pre-production on that, the second Halloween, Deborah Hill, who's the producer, called me up and said, Nick, we're having trouble finding the other masks. You have one, right? And I said, yeah. Can we borrow it? Because we want to use that as a template for the next one, so we'll have a couple extra. I went, sure, but I lent it to her. You get what's there. This is going, and I never got it back. So I'm not sure what happened with the other two original ones, and I don't think John has it. I don't think Tommy has it, so God knows. I'd like to have that by now, though. That'd be a good thing to sell.
We have a question right down the middle.
Who came up with the idea of how Michael Myers moves? For instance, like the famous sit-up when we think he's dead and he suddenly sits up and turns his head. Who was responsible for coming up with that?
Well, it's scene dependent in terms of who can take credit for things. For instance, like I mentioned before, John, I was doing that scene where I'm standing in front of Bob, who's pinned to the wall, and I remember John off camera basically saying, okay, tilt your head to the left, tilt your head to the right, do it again, something like that. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know what his idea was. It wasn't until I saw the dailies of the movie, I went, oh, that's cool. He's kind of admiring his kill or something, or wondering what he just did, something. But it was spooky. As far as this sit-up and the head tilt, that was me doing it. That's what it called for. And so I decided to kind of just, do something, frankly, I cannot do anymore, which is from a dead position doing a sit-up. But it depended. The walk itself is very much whatever the hell came into my head. Because when I asked John about it, he said, I don't know, just walk. He's made up this whole story about how he thought because my dad was a dancer that I had this kind of grace. I think he's bullshitting, frankly.
All right, we got a question for you over here to the right.
Okay.
What other horror movie villain would you have liked to see Michael go up against?
Ooh. Well, I always thought Michael was a little reminded me of Frankenstein. So I don't know if I'd like to see them go up together. I think they'd be good partners. Yeah. Go out and destroy a few people together.
We got two questions on this side of the room. Right here's one.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
It was great meeting you yesterday, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Nice meeting you too.
My question is, by the way, you are Michael Myers, the ultimate killer, by far. My question is, the Michael Myers mask, I know it was kind of a fluke of William Shatner. Do you know why they used that particular mask for Halloween? What made them decide to use that?
Well, yes, I've heard Tommy Lee Wallace, who was one of John's best friends from Kentucky, that went to film school with us and was given the job as the production designer, was in charge of coming up with a look for the movie. And I've heard him talk about literally, they had no money for this. They couldn't do something from scratch or from artwork or something like that. So the best he thought to do was to literally go into a store that sold Halloween masks. And there is a great one I think it's still around in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. And so he walked in there and he's looking for something and he goes, what I think I was looking for is a man's face, but I didn't want it to be someone specific. And he looked up and saw the Shatner mask and went, I have no idea who that is. That's perfect. He also grabbed, that was one idea, and he also grabbed a clown mask that he thought was another alternative possibility for Michael. This is before they did the clown mask for the kid, I think. And then he had a showing he went and he doctored the mask, so it really is the Shatner mask. He took off the sideburns, he colored the hair different, made the skin white, cut the holes out of the eyes wider, and he went, whoa, that's pretty cool. And so he showed John and Deborah, they had kind of a showing. In walked a guy with the clown mask on, and they went, whoa, that is scary. In walked the Michael Myers mask, and they went, that's it. They knew right away, no questions. Somehow Tommy had, hit it out of the park just by luck, by fate, and by his own talent to know what he could do with it. So a lot of the credit for the scariness of that mask goes to Mr. Tommy Wallace, who went on to direct Halloween 3, the only one where the mask isn't used.
So I have a question right behind.
Nick, when you were writing with John for Escape from New York, were there key moments where you had ideas for that you really wanted John to put into the script? Like, John, you have to really put this in there. This is a great idea.
Well, Yeah, first of all credit to John in terms of getting, putting me on the show with him. He had just finished, I think, The Fog or something, and was pretty wiped out. And the studio that was going to do Escape from New York heard about the story, and he went, yes, but it needs a lot of work. And he said, Nick, I really need some help on this one. So we're friends, and we literally lived a couple miles from each other. So John said, come on over and we'll talk about it. So I read the script, and I saw what was available in the original screenplay, which he wrote, by the way, as the first screenplay he did outside of when he left film school. So when he's like 23 or something like that, or 22 or something when he wrote it. And what I saw in it that was lacking was really taking advantage of going to New York. What are the iconic places in New York that we could utilize Snake Plissken's journey through? So things I would add for him was like the taxi driver. Let's say, let's get a taxi. I mean, everyone goes there until now. Now it'd be an Uber driver, and use that as a vehicle in a way to get around to these places. Let's go to Grand Central Station. Let's go to to a theater show, things like that. So we came up with those kind of ideas, and once we started that, it helped kind of give us the logic of the movement of the piece. So that's really what we did. We just basically what we did is sit in his backyard, toss around ideas. He'd make the notes. I'd go home and he'd type it up.
All right, we're over here to your right. This lady back here has a question for you.
First, I love you. Like, you're the originator. I watch the movie like all the time. Like, just that one. The music soothes me. Everything about the movie soothes me. But when you're done being Michael, like, how are you gonna feel? Like, to not be that Michael anymore. How are you gonna feel?
By the end of this trilogy, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like when you're done being Michael, period. Like, how are you gonna feel?
Oh, when I'm done doing Michael, I'll always come to these shows, so I'll never be done with Michael. I mean, in a certain way, I was done with Michael right after the first one. I didn't think much. I was happy for John, because it was a big hit. I didn't, at that point, even when it was a big hit, who knew it was going to create this kind of sensation? Who knew how iconic the character was? It wasn't until, this is when I realized it. I don't know when it was, probably in the 90s or early 2000s, when the first character figure of Halloween came out. The first Michael Myers, one of those I forget who did them. And I went to the store and I saw, I went, I'm an action figure. That did it for me. That's great. But in terms of the series is going to end, you'll be surprised by the ending, I think. And if it's a hit, there'll be more Michael. Somehow, someone will resurrect this series because Michael's such an iconic character, and for a good reason. I mean, you could see what Rob Zombie did with the thing. He just went and rebooted it. Let's start over again. And David Gordon Green had a cool idea. Let's do it 40 years later and cut out all these middle things. Someone else is going to come up with another way of telling the Michael story, if not that way, a different way. So hopefully he'll be in our nightmares for much longer. I'm going to take a video of this whole crowd while the next question is being asked.
Okay. All right.
And that next question is going to be over here to the right.
I was going to ask him something.
You'll have to wait.
Damn. Yeah, sit. The castle. Yay! There it is.
I'm going to send that to John and tell him, look what you hath wrought.
All right, next question's over here on the right-hand side. This gentleman has a question.
All right, with all the remakes they've been making, remakes, reboots, all that, everybody's been on the whole reboot thing. What was your true feelings on Rob Zombie's take?
Oh, well, the one thing I objected to in a way, not objected, that's the wrong word, is just like I didn't think was didn't help the film was the psychoanalysis of the character, the backdrop of the character, which is fine. I mean, if I were to someone said you're going to do the next reboot of the Halloween, that certainly was a way to approach it, But I think what it showed is that how much better the first one was when you didn't know anything about it, really. It was just kind of like, what's going on with this kid? And you could imagine what you wanted to and put your own fears and questions into your own interpretation. So that's otherwise, I think Rob did a good job. He's a smart filmmaker, and he just went for something very obviously gritty and more contemporary.
So I want to go back to the very first Halloween. Was there a premiere, and what did you think the first time you saw it on the screen?
There must have been a premiere. Or maybe it was a cast and crew screening where we saw it. I think the main thing that jumped out at me was the music. Because John and I were friends at film school, and we did music together for the movies that we would do. And we sang together and wrote contemporary rock and roll together. And then when I saw this, I went, oh, man, you really did this one, man. And he did it in like 3 days or something like that. He had this idea for doing this 5/4 time thing, and he's a good piano player, but not, like an accomplished piano player. And I went, that really did. And then, when you look back at the film now, it's, one of the things that's very impressive is that it is one of the the most iconic scores in the history of film. So I'm really proud of my buddy.
It's got time for about 2 or 3 more questions. Let's get one right here.
I don't know if this is true. Was Tommy Lee Jones at one point considered for Snake Plissken, or was it always Kurt Russell in mind? Or
I've heard rumors about the sequels for Escape from New York, where this or that or the other. And that was one of them. But again, and I continue to hear rumors that they're developing it again, and who the hell they're going to get, So, that's the studio's call usually, because they're putting so much money on the head of this particular actor. I think Norman Reedus would be pretty good at Snake. That was something Sean Clark. Yeah, I don't know if you know Sean Clark. He's the guy that is my agent for these shows, and he's always running around here with his spiked hair, doing mischief. But he said, "What about Reedus?" That's a good idea.
All right, we got a question right here for you.
Hi, I was wondering. I don't know exactly how much you actually worked with her, Jamie Lee Curtis, on the original film, and what it was like to work with her 40 years later in the remakes recently. How was that?
Well, this was, I think, Jamie's first film. In 1978, she was 18, 19 years old. She was, but very, not only charming and everything else that she is, but very serious. Didn't have that, she came from Hollywood pedigree. Janet Leigh, Tony Curtis. As you have, it's a lot riding on your shoulders, and usually, you grow up in that atmosphere, you could be a real brat, and she is not. She's very conscientious and a good actor. So that was fun. I mean, she was just fun, to be around. And like I said, there's a lot of downtime on movies, when they're lighting the scene, so you can have a chat with people. I don't remember the specifics. It was so long ago, but I just remember how charming it was and fun. And we run into each other from time to time, and we did in the last 3 of these Halloweens. When I saw her in the Halloween 2018, I came on the set. And this was the first time, we're rebooting she had been in some of these other reboots, but I had never been. And she saw me across a parking lot and yelled at me and said, "Castle!" And she ran over, and I ran up to her. It was like some scene out of a love story. And we hugged each other, and she said, "Is this nuts or what?" So we didn't, for my part, all I did was some cameos. James Jude Courtney did all the heavy lifting in all these movies, but my scene with her was in the window of when she first sees Michael having escaped, and she looks up and shoots at him and hits the mirror. If you remember that scene, that was where I started that scene, and I handed the baton, in effect, to James for the rest of the movie.
Let's get two more in the back.
I got two questions right back here.
Yeah,
so-
and you're going to be headed back to your table after this to sign and hang out?
Yeah, first I have to do a photo session.
op.
Oh, if there's enough time, I'll go back first. We'll see. The photo sessions I've heard are backing up, so
yeah,
check it.
All
yeah,
right.
but please come to the
So if you didn't have
Love to
time
talk
for
to
a
you this
question,
morning.
love to hang out with a guy.
All right, here's a question for you.
You're known as Michael Myers with the mask and everything. Do you get noticed a lot of
Do I get noticed a lot, like walking down the street?
walking normally?
Rarely, unless I was walking my dog about 2 months ago and guy went, Nick Castle, Michael Myers, right? I went, yeah, and he went,
there you go.
that was it. But the times I'm most recognized, and it's kind of a cheat, is, and it hasn't happened too much lately, is, there's a lot of these people that do signatures and stuff like that for profit. And they'll try to ambush you coming off a plane when they know you're coming to a con or you're going to a premiere or something like that, and pretend to be people like yourself where, hi, I'm a big fan. And I go, oh, okay, sign it. And they say, and how about this one? And I go, okay, what about this one here? And I say, you're not a real fan. You just want to resell it. So you got to watch out for those people. But other than that, luckily, in a way, I feel, because I would hate to be a real movie star where you can't walk down the street, go to a restaurant without, even the nicest of fans, you're always staring. I stare at people if I see people. So that'd be a bitch.
Okay, we'll do the last question. Last question right back here.
What did the first Halloween film originate from?
Say that again?
What did the first Halloween film originate from?
Where does it originate from? Okay, let's see. The first Halloween film came as an idea from Irwin Yablans, who was the producer of the movie. He did a lot of low-budget pictures. He had an idea. He saw John's movie, Assault on Precinct 13. He said, this guy's good. I want him. I want to work with this guy. He went up to John and said, what do you want to do? And he went, I don't know. What do you got? And he went, well, I've wanted to do this idea. It's called the Babysitter Murders. That's how it started. And he went, okay, can you write something? And he said, okay, I'll write the Babysitter Murders. And John's looking, he's young still. He hasn't made a hit movie yet. And this is another opportunity. So he and Deborah started writing Halloween. And then the same guy, Irwin Yablans, said, we're going to call it Halloween, and we're going to do this on Halloween night. So there's a producer worth his salt, came up with some inspiring ideas. And then John came up and Deborah came up with the plotting and the Michael character. The Michael Myers, as a matter of fact, when John did Assault on Precinct 13, the name of the person that sold the movie in the English territories, his name was Michael Myers. It had nothing to do with the comedian or anything like that. But it just happened to be a name John stuck in his head and went, let's just call him this. So things can happen that are strange. Like, in The Fog, the lead character is named Nick Castle.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
John comes up with some ideas that are... he doesn't have to dig very deep for them.
Thank you so much for coming out, Nick.
Thank you,
head
everyone.
this table or do a photo op. Check it out. Hang out with them. Give it up. The one and only Nick Castle. I think you can do better than that.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.